The following is a conversation with Andrew Cieply. Today, Andy and I are going to dive into the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book has sold over 10 million copies worldwide and has been translated into more than 50 languages. Many clients and friends have mentioned this book to us over the last year, so we decided to have a conversation about it, with the hopes it provides insight and inspiration when it comes to building good habits and breaking bad ones. You are listening to the Co-Movement Gym podcast, where we inspire people to move and live courageously. If you are enjoying this content, please support our sponsors in the description. I thank each and every one of you for being on this journey with us. Now, please enjoy the show. Folks, listen up. I want to take a brief moment and thank our podcast show sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic, Native Path Supplements, and Redmond Life. Lombardi Chiropractic has been my personal chiropractor for 10 years and has kept my body strong and healthy. Native Path Supplements are used by numerous co-movement clients and our coaching team here at the facility. I highly recommend that you try their chocolate collagen peptides. I was made aware of Redmond Life by one of our trainers here at the facility. He recommended I try Relight Electrolyte Powder. This supplement has dramatically improved my afternoon energy levels and overall hydration. I'd like to thank these three companies for providing outstanding service and products that make our society healthier and more resilient. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast when you call Lombardi Chiropractic, and not only will they treat you like family, they will provide a nice, enticing discount to all listeners. And use code COMO15, that's C-O-M-O 15, at checkout when shopping at nativepath.com or redmond.life and receive 15% off all your orders. Your support to our show sponsors assists in us paying for expenses and continuing to provide content we hope you all enjoy. Okay, back on to the Co-Movement Gym podcast. Andy and I are sitting in the studio. How you doing, Andy?
Doing good, Josh. How are you?
Good. So for listeners, just because we're authentic, we were a few minutes into recording this, 10, 15 minutes ago, and the power went out.
Yep.
So here we are, take two. We're making it even better. So what we're going to get into today is the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Andy and I are very much into habit patterns and goal setting, and this book has been brought up to us many times in the last just 6 months.
Yep.
So we're going to summarize it, talk about points we like, and hopefully provide insight and motivation to people that want to set better goals and habits.
Totally, yeah. And like I was saying before we got cut off, this book is all about making your life better. If you can have good habits, that's going to massively impact the outcome of your life and the things that you accomplish and so on, because so much of our life is the result of our habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to start off by saying that what a habit is, because we should define it right off the bat. It's a behavior that is performed regularly to the point that it becomes automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of our daily routine is automatic. People would be surprised if they actually started paying attention to how much of our life we just do the same thing every day, or we basically work on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've evolved to do that. Like, that's the point of habits, is that our brains use less energy. You know, they make us more efficient, but they also make us repeat the same things over and over again. So they really do impact how our life turns out.
Yeah, and so many of the habits, like you said, they're unconscious, right?
Yep.
And we just do them day to day. And if they're bad habits, they're compounding, in a negative way. So, yeah.
Yep. So small habits matter. That's probably the first thing to say right off the bat. Changes that seem really tiny or inconsequential at first compound over time and have a massive impact down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had brought up something about the 1%.
Yeah, there's a cool chart in the book, and it shows if you improve 1% every day over a course of time. I don't know how many years it was. 1 year.
Yep.
The chart, it's basically a hockey stick, like, of improvement. And you said it's 37 times.
Yeah. So if you improve 1% at something every day, then you're 37 times better at the end of the year. That's 3,700% better.
Yeah.
Which is the power of exponential growth.
And
that's why tiny habits matter so much.
And that's a totally different human being. Like it's unrecognizable in many instances. And so don't discount small wins done over the long term. I think that's huge to emphasize. We'll emphasize it as we go on too.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of follow my notes here. I've got some notes on the book. One of the things I thought was good to mention is why it's hard to build good habits. And it is really difficult for a lot of people. One of the reasons is when you make small changes, you don't see tangible results at first. You know, if you start working out and you work out for a week, your body doesn't look any different at the end of the week. You know, eat healthy for a week, you probably don't notice any loss on the scale at the end of that 1 week, right? He calls that the
valley of disappointment.
Yeah, the valley of disappointment. That's what it is. Yeah, exactly. And so you have to find a way to break through that valley of disappointment to get to where the habit starts to compound into a noticeable result.
And that can take months. You know, I don't know. Obviously, it depends, right, on the habit.
Sure.
But our society now just wants everything now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to
gratification.
Yes. Yep. But that I laughed when I saw that because I don't know, valley of disappointment, and it is. And like that could be years also. Like I'll be very clear. Like you could, you know, for me and with jiu-jitsu, like 4 years in, I still feel 70% of the days I suck. And I'm still in that disappointment curve. Yeah. And it's 4 years of training. And so, you know, it varies person to person, but yeah, that was a good analogy there.
How to break through and stick to a habit. So, you know, if you do have to go through this valley of disappointment, how do you get through it and actually stick to it to the point where you start seeing results down the road? The big driving message behind this book, one of them is you have to focus on the systems, not the goals. You know, so we all set goals. That's the thing that we want. But the systems are like the process. How do you get there? So like, for example, if my goal is to bench press 300 pounds, that's one achievement that'll happen in one moment on one day. Like that's the end result, the goal. The system though is like the day-to-day training for a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is that leads up to that. You know, so there's the goal that we want, and then there's the whole process, or the systems he calls it, that leads up to that. And he says focus on the systems, not the goals.
That resonated with me very deeply because I am very goal oriented.
Yeah, well, we all are, because that's the thing that we want. So that's the thing that we think about.
But then I was thinking about like how much time do I spend analyzing and geeking out to the system to get the goal.
Right.
And it was probably like a 10-to-1 ratio. Like all the energy on the goal and then, you know, very little effort on the actual process.
You know what?
To get there.
I heard James Clear, the author of this book, say something interesting about that. Part of the reason that we have such a hard time focusing on the systems is because in our society, we glorify the goal. You know, that's the thing that everyone cares about. And we rarely glorify or pay attention to the systems. So for example, you'll never see a newspaper headline that says, man eats steamed broccoli today. But you'll see a newspaper headline that says, man loses 100 pounds, you know.
Totally.
But eating the steamed broccoli every day was the process that got him. But the process isn't sexy. The goal is sexy. So we focus on that.
And the interesting thing is that in the book, they had said that we actually, when you look back after achieving a goal, we enjoyed, it's the process that you enjoy, the journey, not the actual accomplishing of the goal. And in many instances, that can be depressing because it's over, right? And that hit home too when I was laying out like new systems for goals that I have after, you know, realizing this book. But that was very, very eye-opening to me. So I'm putting all my energy now into like systems.
Yeah, that's the eye-opening thing with this book, is how important the systems are. And one of the things I liked about the book is that it made me more interested in the systems.
Me too.
Whereas, you know, our tendency is to be interested in the goals, but now after reading the book, I had a mindset shift where I'm like, I care about the systems more.
And this is probably why 92% of people don't accomplish goals, right? Because they put all that time and energy into setting the perfect goal, but almost no energy into how to actually achieve that goal with a realistic plan, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, that was great.
And this is just a thought I had when I was reading the book, but like I think the best thing is when, this is hard to engineer, it just happens organically sometimes, but the best thing is when you really love the process behind something.
Yeah.
Like all the greatest achievements I have in my life tend to be things where I just love the thing that I'm doing, whether it's my rock climbing or my running or whatever.
Totally.
Like I love that activity, and that leads to some achievement down the road, but I wasn't even thinking about the achievement, the goal. I just love the process, the activity.
Yeah, and I would say for most people, that should be the case, especially if you want long-term progress, right? If you don't enjoy that process, like from a business perspective, like I love being an entrepreneur and I love business. I don't look at like the end goal is to get the gym to this much revenue and I'm obsessed with that. It's just like, I just like working 7 days a week on the business because it's cool and it's challenging and we have a good time. And like, that's the journey.
When I was reading this, I was thinking about you with entrepreneurship.
Totally.
Like you love being an entrepreneur and running a business.
Yeah.
And of course you set goals because that's what a smart person does.
Yep.
But you love the process.
Yeah. And I will say though, I used to be more goal oriented within the business now versus systems oriented after reading this. Like I used to be way more just goals and not a lot of thought on systems. But that switched for sure. Yeah.
I thought he did another nice thing in this book where he talked about a couple of the problems with goals, problems with focusing on goals. If you think about it, like winners and losers have the same goals. The team that wins the NBA championships and the team that finished dead last and didn't make the playoffs, they both started the season with the same goal, which was we want to win the championship. In fact, every single team in the league had the exact same goal and only one achieved it. So if you get such different outcomes, but you had the exact same goals, clearly the goals aren't the thing that matters. The difference was that the team that won the championship had a different system, different process, different training, whatever they did, than the team that came in dead last. Also, like a couple of other problems with goals. Achieving a goal only changes your life for a moment. It's just one instant. And like you said, sometimes people get depressed afterwards. Whereas habits are permanent. Goals restrict your happiness because now you're thinking to yourself that you won't be happy until you achieve the goal versus like we were talking before, if you can be happy with the process, now you don't even need to, like the goal might be 2 years down the road, but you're enjoying the process.
For sure.
And then goals are also at odds with long-term progress because a lot of people see them as a finish line. Like, and so what happens, a lot of people set goals and if they do achieve their goal, then they just stop. Versus if you love the process, you might get to that goal, but then you want to keep going because you just like the behavior, the thing you're doing.
Yeah, and it can be, I would assume, a huge frustration for a lot of people if they set a goal and they dislike that journey, that process, the system to get there, but they do this repeatedly. Like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, I'm going to run a marathon. It's just like, but you don't enjoy the process, the system of any of those. That's tough. And I think a lot of people live there.
I think that's the number one reason for
I do too.
For missing goals.
100%. And again, I think it's so ezy to get pumped up. Like, let's take rock climbing, for example, like watching free solo, right? It's like, I'm going to be a climber and I'm going to climb, 5'10" and this and that. But the process of like weekends and then training during the weekdays on the fingerboard, like unless you truly enjoy that and following a strict program and maybe getting hurt once in a while and recovering, like if you don't enjoy that, like you're off that high, the goal is no longer that important and you need to change the goal or start to learn to enjoy the system.
Yeah, that achievement at the end is just one tiny final step, in like a long journey. And if you don't like that journey, then...
For sure. In business, I could be done with the gym today and I would take about 3 days off and then I'd be starting a new business.
Yeah, I know you would.
For sure. Like, it's comical. I don't even think I'd make it a week. Like, my brain is just wired and geared towards that. It's fun. It's a game. It's a challenge like athletics, right? So, yeah, but that's a good indicator that we're in the right places, right?
Yep. So the next cool thing, I love this about this book, and I'm not exactly sure how to talk about it. We'll just have to chit chat a little, but he talks about, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Yeah, he talks about identity, which I think is really, really interesting. First, I'll say he outlines 3 layers of behavior change. So you've got your outcomes. That's like the goal, or what happens at the end, which is he calls the outer layer. Think of it like an onion. And then there's the process, or your systems. That's the middle layer.
Yep.
And then at the core is your identity. That's like your self-image, who you believe you are.
Yes. Lay that out one more time, the 3 layers, because I had that on my computer, which is now dead because we don't have power. So lay those 3 layers out.
Yeah, so the outside, the surface, is the outcomes.
Yes.
The results.
The goal.
The goal, the
yes.
results. Yep. The middle layer is the process, your systems, your habits. And then the inner layer is your identity, your self-image, who you think you are. And he says, and this was like a big mindset shift for me too, the key is to change in the right direction. Most people start with what they want, the goal, and then they try to change from outward to inward. And he says that the secret is to start with who you are, your identity, and then like focus on who you want to be, and then change the habits into the habits that kind of person would have, and then you'll end up with the outcomes that you want.
That was huge for me when I read that, because I look at the times in my life when I've made big gains. It was when I did that. When I was striving to copy almost the identity of someone that I emulated at some point.
You want to be this person, this kind of person.
Yes, this kind of person.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll make that clear for people. Like, we don't want to be someone different, but we want to be that kind of person. And I didn't necessarily, those time periods in my life where there was massive growth, I wasn't fixated on a specific goal, but I was obsessed with being like that image, that person, right? But then what follows is their systems and all the stuff that comes up through, and then the goals sort of just fall into place.
Yes.
And man, did that click for me.
And it's because your behaviors are always going to be reflective of who you think you are, or who you feel yourself to be. If you're trying to behave in a way that's not aligned with who you are, you're not going to be able to stick to it, But if you see yourself as a certain type of person, that person you were trying to emulate, you're trying to be this kind of person, then it's easier to behave in that way and then end up with the results that kind of person would get.
For sure. Yes.
I thought that was a really interesting piece of this book, and I still need to reflect on it more, but I think it's a mindset shift.
It is. And you've seen bumper stickers that say what would Jesus do? Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I've seen them say other things like, what would so-and-so do?
Yeah.
If you have this identity and this person or figure picked out, and I did this, I'm bringing this up because I did this for a long time. I should probably get back to it. But I would ask myself, in this moment in time, would that person be doing this? Right?
Yep. I love that tool.
And that's a system. Would they be doing this, i.e. system?
Right. Process. Yep.
Yes. And man, I tell you what, for I would say a good 12 to 15 years, that is sort of how my mind functioned. And I got off that train about 3-4 years ago. I'm going to be back on it soon. But I got to be way too goal oriented in the last 3 or 4 years versus identity shift and system based. And but when me and you talked in the gym a few weeks ago, that clicked. I had 2 big hockey puck growth. Right.
Yep.
And at that time, I was like, "Whoa, that's who I was trying to identify as."
Yep. And the cool thing is, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing with your identity and your habits. So you're going to behave the way you feel yourself to be. So your habits will follow your identity, but also your habits can shape your identity also. So the way that you behave is the way that you see yourself to be, basically.
Yes.
Let me think. like what I've got in my notes here is what you do regularly is who you are. The more you repeat a habit, the more you reinforce the identity that's associated with that habit. So building new habits is kind of how you build an identity that you want.
Sure.
Each new habit that you take on is kind of like a suggestion, like, hey, maybe this is who I am. And the more you repeat that habit, like you start going for a run, every day or whatever. And the more that you repeat that, after a few weeks, you start to say to yourself, or you start to feel that I am a runner. I mean, I've been running for like every day for the last 3-4 weeks or whatever. I am. Now you start to say to yourself, I am a runner, and you feel that to be true.
Yeah.
So your habits build your identity and reinforce it.
Yeah, they play off each other. Yep. Alex Hormozi said in one of his podcasts that a while back, when his ultimate goal was to be wealthy, every day he checked his net worth. Every day. The habit. He just checked his finances, income, right? And then it slowly created and manifested an extremely wealthy entrepreneur, business owner. But that habit of being obsessed with that every single day created that for him. Obviously, that was one of many systems, right? But that's an example. That's a small example of just something very simple, like 5 minutes a day. He looked at something
that's
like
a good
that,
example,
and then he could see it went up $20, $100, $1,000, and it's just like boom, 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 and then you become that.
Yep, exactly.
And regardless of what you believe with finance and money and all that, I'm just saying you could implement anything there. But that was really cool to hear him say that. Yeah.
So James Clear in the book says the 2-step process to changing your identity is decide who you want to be, and then prove it to yourself with small actions, small wins. And the more you repeat them, the more you become what you want, that person.
And that is so simple. And I think more people need simple homework.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is why habits are so important. This is why he wrote a book about it.
Yes.
So, it goes on to talk about how to build better habits, and he gives 4 steps, right? I think I saw those in your notes before we lost our power.
Yes.
But first, just a tiny little bit of like what habits are, like why your brain builds them. It would be really hard. Like we already said, like habits are things that are automated. They're just, you're on autopilot and you do them habitually. It would be really hard if we had to like consciously decide what to do like every step of the day. We'd be making a million decisions a minute. So your brain is going for efficiency. That's why we have habits. It's basically, habits are, the way I think about them, they're like the algorithms that we run on. Like if we were computers, habits are our algorithms.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to put that. Yeah.
So basically habits make us more efficient. And there's 4 parts to a habit. There's the cue, which is usually visual. Like for example, you see cookies. There's the craving. That's the motivation. So you saw cookies. Now we usually crave a change in state. Like I want to go from hungry to full. Then there's the behavior. That's the habit. Probably eating the cookie. And then there's the reward, which is the state that we craved. Now we're full. Now we got that sweet, whatever.
So
the cue, the craving, the behavior, and then the reward. I just wanted to point that out because we might talk about it a little more. And then he mentions the 4 laws of behavior change. So how to create good habits and break bad ones. Make the cue obvious. Make the craving attractive. Make the behavior easy to do. That's a really big one. And make the reward satisfying. So if you're trying to create a new habit and you want it to stick, make the cue obvious. That's really important. The craving attractive, the behavior easy, and the reward satisfying.
Yeah. Can we lay out an example of that for people? Like anything specific or basic?
Well, like, okay, so for example, like making the cue obvious. Like what's a habit that we want to create? Say you want to...
Let's just say exercise routine.
Yes. Okay, so they say you want to exercise daily. You're currently not exercising at all. Some sort of cue might be like, putting your running shoes out in a place that they're available to you, or like things he gives in the book. Like if you want to like read regularly instead of watching Netflix, then the cue could be like leaving the book that you want to read on your coffee table. Like
awesome.
You're trying to make the thing easy to see,
Yep.
and so you remember to do it, basically.
Yep. Okay, good.
You know?
Yeah, that clicks for me. Okay.
Yep. Make the craving we'll get more into these later, actually, so we'll probably have better examples down the road. Making the behavior easy to do is a really big one, though. You want to create less friction. So, like, for example, don't join a gym that's all the way across town. Maybe join the one that's, a mile from your house or something like that.
Sure. Or when you're writing your workout schedule, make sure the time frames in which you want to do it, you can do.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, exactly.
sure.
Try to make things easy. And then make the reward satisfying. We'll probably have some tips on that later, but I'm not sure. For different habits, you can reward yourself in different ways.
Sure.
And you just want to make sure that you feel like you're getting rewarded when you do the thing.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like for a fitness or health goal, it would be to look different because they have a wedding or they're going on a vacation, right? Is that the reward then? Would be like that good vacation?
Well, no, you want to we're talking about a reward for a new habit. So you just worked out.
Okay.
Like, what's your immediate reward you get right at the end of that workout?
Gotcha.
And it could be something as simple as maybe you've got like an accountability partner and you text your partner and be like, I just did my workout, and they're like, hey, high five, and like you're congratulating each other.
Or you go to coffee after
exactly.
and chat for 20 minutes, half hour. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yep.
So actually the rest of the book just gets into those four things. So this is where we'll get more examples and tips. So like the first part was making the cue obvious, right? A big thing is starting with awareness. You know how I said like habits are the algorithms we run on? They're mostly unconscious. We have to begin the process of behavior change with awareness, which is like consciously choosing what habits we want to have throughout the day, like so that we can rewrite our algorithms, so to speak.
Yep.
Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But once you become aware of your habits and start consciously choosing them, now you are writing your own algorithms, so now you're directing your own fate. Yeah,
that's a skill set to have that level of awareness.
Yeah,
like you're at a party and there's poor food out and you make a bad choice or a poor choice. Even just being aware of that, and then why did you, right? And all of this dissecting, that's a huge skill set.
Yeah, and it probably takes some time, but it is just important to know that you do have to begin with like, okay, I want to change my habits. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing throughout the day, what things I do habitually, what I want to change, and in what ways I want to change. You have to start with those questions in order to get the ball rolling.
For sure, yep.
The best way to start a new habit, let's see, he says use an implementation intention, which is basically like just write this down for a new habit you want to start. I will perform whatever behavior at whatever time and whatever location. We're more likely to do something when we say when we're going to do it. So for example, like instead of saying, I want to start working out like regularly, I say, I'm going to work out at 9 a.m. on Monday at Co-Movement Gym. So you actually specify when you're going to do it and where. And that makes it more likely that it's going to happen. Yeah,
I agree 100%. I have to pencil in days and times for anything that's a priority. I have to, because it won't get done. Because just life will get in the way. And so that's what I tell people, we use the exercise example, is you have to choose days and times that you are dedicated to putting that work in, right? Because or else if it's just fly by the seat of your pants, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, We're way better if we actually schedule it out or like make a promise to ourselves on specific. And he gives another tip, which is habit stacking. He says, for example, maybe you've got a current habit, like every morning you have coffee, and maybe you want to start meditating or something. After my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. And now you've already got the one habit, coffee. You're going to do that, and now you've made an intention that you're going to do this thing that you want to start for 1 minute afterwards.
Right after the habit you're already used to doing.
Yeah.
Oh,
so this is just part. This is
sure.
just part of that whole making the cue obvious. These are ways to do that. You write it down when you're going to do it. You stack it on a current habit that you have. That's how you make the cue obvious.
Yeah.
So you can actually remember to perform the new habits that you want.
See, I didn't understand the habit stacking. That I didn't. It didn't set in with me that well, but that makes total sense. So yeah. Okay.
It's just if you want to perform a new behavior, like this isn't part of your current algorithm, you're going to forget to do it or whatever.
Sure.
So you're just trying to make it obvious. You remember to do it.
Yep.
And if you stack it with a current habit, then now you know when to do it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes attached to that habit and it becomes habitual itself.
Totally. Yes.
He says, I liked this. Motivation is overrated. Environment matters more.
I had that written down.
Yeah. And that's big. So our environment shapes our behavior, And I like one of the things he said was you can be the victim of your environment or you can be the architect of it.
For sure.
You always say you're the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. So you can be the victim of that. Maybe you're just spending your time with people who are bringing you down, so to speak, or you can be the architect of your environment. You can shape your surroundings, shape the people that you're with, shape the things you listen to and watch, whatever, in such a way that influences you positively.
That is a huge point that you just brought up. One of the most important in this whole podcast is the environment. You will not become your goal or you will not achieve that goal unless the environment matches to support that system.
Definitely. And that's something I've learned a lot.
It's actually more and more things that people that have dived deep into system hacking and different things. It's the environment. You just slowly become the environment in which you spend the time with, right? Just like the people, for sure. We could take finance, if you just hung out with ultra wealthy people all the time and you were not,
you would pick up the habits of ultra wealthy
100%. You would just change.
When you pick up the habits of ultra wealthy people, you end up with the results of ultra wealthy
100. Yes. If I started to hang out with Mennonite contractors 5 days a week and I didn't know how to build shit, I would just be better at building shit. Just not even caring.
Right. Yep.
Because you're spending 40, 50, 60.
You just absorb it.
You just absorb it, for sure. That's, I want to hit that home. That's really big. And, here, I tell people all the time, you want to get fitter and healthier, you got to belong to a community that believes in that.
We harp on, I knew we'd talk about this point because we harp on this and we know how important this is.
If you're jumping down in the basement, bad lighting, treadmill, low ceilings, and you just think that's going to work, and your friends are not eating healthy and they're inviting you out to chicken wings and beer and just save yourself time. You got to either really change that environment or change the goal.
Yep.
And that's why I do truly believe here at Co-Movement, and this is any situation, but people get fitter and healthier. We push each other, me and you. You come up with a handstand thing or some dumbbell thing, and then we're just always...
We all become role models for each other.
Yes. And Instagram, I guess you could say, is a mini version of this, right? If all your followers or all the people you follow are into health and fitness, that is definitely imprinting on you. For sure.
But if you're following the wrong people, that'll imprint the wrong way. That's the key to this is you have to design your environment for success. So, with Instagram, for example, curate who you're following to be the people that you want to emulate and be like.
100%.
Yep. And that's the same, obviously, even more so for the real world, the people you're around and the environments you're in.
And people think the farther up this ladder of success you go, people think it's rude or not, I don't know, politically correct maybe to not spend time with people they think they should be spending time with or being in environments that they think they should be in. But it doesn't align with your values, your goals, or the systems.
Yep.
And so again, you're just twiddling your thumbs here. I think of it as a tug of war.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle, and then you have, we'll call it the bad group and the good group or environment. And it's just a pull. That's it. And I see so many people living suboptimal lives. And I could name the reasons why. It's the environment and the people. And it doesn't mean you need to hack your shitty friends or be mean or this or that. but realistically, you only have a certain number of time and effort to put yourself in environments with certain people, and they need to align with where you want to head.
Yep.
And if they don't, again, it won't work. You won't be the anomaly in the group, because it's never happened. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. And so you were looking for examples on those 4 pieces. Like, so this is like the last piece of that, making the cue obvious. Like if you're trying to have certain habits, like healthy habits or good financial habits or whatever, the environment is a huge cue. So, you know, when he says make the cue obvious, it's like if you're in the right environment, then that's an obvious. If you're hanging out at co-movement all day, you're surrounded by cues to live a healthy life.
Yes.
Because that's what we're doing here.
Yes.
You know. But if you're in bars with your drinking buddies all day, then you're surrounded by cues to drink and have chicken wings.
For sure.
You know.
Yes.
So that's kind of how we wrap up the make the cue obvious thing.
And people could do like a report card for themselves here. Is if you've had a goal in the past that you didn't achieve, or have one now and you're not achieving, ask yourself those 2 questions. Who are you hanging out with and talking to? And what environment are you in for the majority of your time? It's just that easy. Like, and I would say 99.99999% you fail on both of those most likely. And you need to change that. And that, to me, that's exciting, because like life is like an onion. You're peeling layers all the time. So like get new people, get new peer groups, you know, read new books, follow new people, like, and then you will slowly become what you want to become.
That's what's exciting about this book for me, is it's giving you the roadmap to how to live the life that you want. It's showing you how things like your environment or whatever shape you. And when you, like, we forget that. We won't see it normally. We don't reflect on it. We're not aware of it. That's why building awareness was the first step. But once this book makes you aware of all that, as he takes you through all these steps, and then you start to see all the things in your life that you can change. And you're like, if I change those things, my life changes drastically.
For sure. And if you identify or are striving to identify as this new person, asking yourself, would that person be in this environment right now? Fuck no, right? Like in a lot of cases, they always joke, like Dan Pena, business guy follow, you know, he says like, do you think Mark Zuckerberg is sitting at a bar belching and burping with his buddies? No. Like, do you think Elon Musk is like, and it's like, no. And it's because they're just totally different environments for those people, you know, and that's hence why they are what they are, you know, pro athletes and, you know, jiu-jitsu guys training 3 times a day. They're not out, you know, out of skateboarding. They're doing jiu-jitsu 3 times a day, you know, so they become really good at that. Yeah.
So then the second part was make it attractive. That was the second step, right? To creating a new behavior. So obviously the more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it is to be habit forming. And this goes along with like dopamine and stuff. That's why like food manufacturers know the bliss point of foods. Like the more attractive and rewarding of something can be, the more likely we are to do it. A big component of this for us is the role of family and friends and community, because as he says in the book, humans are herd animals. We desperately want to fit in, obviously for evolutionary reasons. The behaviors of those around us will significantly influence our own behaviors. Family, friends, coworkers, you know, the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. So this is a lot like environment here. Behaviors are more attractive to us. This is all about like, you know, make it attractive. Behaviors are more attractive to us when they help us fit in. That's why, like, for example, like fashion, you know, I was wearing baggy jeans in the 90s, and now I'm wearing skinnier jeans now, you know, like what changed there? It's just you know, baggy jeans made me fit in the 90s, and they would make me not fit in now. And now skinnier jeans make me fit in now. We all want to fit in with the people we're close to, our friends, family, and the larger society. He says we mostly imitate 3 main groups of people. It's the close. So that's the ones that are closest to us. He says, for example, like if you have, if your best friend is obese, then you're more likely to be obese. Like that's something that's been studied and shown a lot. The many, that's like society at large. You don't want to be ostracized. You want to be part of the whole community. And then the powerful. Humans always pursue like prestige and status. So the people that you that have a status that you would like to have or that you are envious of, you're more likely to imitate their behaviors and want to fit in with them.
Sure.
So he says behaviors are attractive when they help us fit in with those close to us, they help us fit in with society, and they help us gain prestige or status. That's kind of all I had for the attractive piece, but does that kind of
it resonates because if you're trying to make those people happy by abiding by things that make them happy, it's bad habits or systems. That's, again, it goes back to you are the people that you hang out with, right? Like, so like if me and you hang out and like I'm, eating Arby's and, pounding a Bud Light, like I know that doesn't align like with your values, and that wouldn't make you particularly happy or comfortable, right? Necessarily. But if I was hanging out with someone, say I'm not into that, but they are, it would be uncomfortable for me to be eating something different than them, right? So it's like when we hang out, it's like so many things are similar all the time. There's like no effort, right? But we're in that together, and that's you hear. And I actually said this. Actually, I shot an Instagram video. It's not even out yet. It will be by the time people listen to this. But social functions and peer pressure are one of the top 3 reasons why people fail in achieving their goals.
Yes.
I read that.
Yeah, exactly.
Social functions and peer pressure. And you're at the party or, birthday cake and this and that and that. And you compound and you hear people at these functions say, oh, it's just a birthday party. Or that. Yeah, but you have like 8 things per week. It's just the water cooler with donuts. It's just this. It's just this. And then you just fill all this in and you just failed.
Yeah, and that's perfect. That goes right to this attractiveness piece. So, for example, you said peer pressure. Like I said, a habit is attractive if it helps us fit in. So why do most people start smoking? It's always a social thing.
Totally.
It's like they're hanging out with friends who smoke, and that's the cool thing to do. They don't want to smoke. Smoking is terrible for you. Everyone knows that. Why would you start a bad habit that doesn't serve you in any way and it's expensive? They start it because they want to fit in. That's a very powerful influencer. So you got to like kind of be aware of that.
Or consumerism. That's a huge thing.
Like you say, the Joneses.
Like, oh, I want to save more. I'm so stressed out about my finances. And then, but you are hanging out with friends that have brand new vehicles and the top new clothes and the bags and all this, and you're just spending away and you're getting more stressed out and not achieving your goal because of that. But it's because of the people that you're around and you're trying to impress and make happy. And versus like, me and you are pretty frugal. So it's like, I'm not like all into like, shopping and telling you all the shit I bought. Because we're just not into that.
That's why it's great to hang out with people that are, that have the same values as you, because I'm not trying to I don't have to do anything special to impress you. You're the kind of person that I want to be, and so I can just live authentically the way that I want to be to fit in with the group of people that I'm with.
100%.
Because I've chosen them carefully, and they're this kind of people that I want to be like.
Yes, and me and you talk and joke.
So anything that I do that helps me fit into my group serves me because they're the type of people that I want to be like. And that's attractive because we are herd animals and we want to fit in.
And your systems are getting more polished, hence you're getting closer to your goal or goals. Me and you joke about this a lot, especially around the holiday season, how, we're pulled out of our comfort zone more, right? Because of negative opportunities to like eat poorly or stay up late more than we would like to normally, right? And that's hard, right? Because we're used to being in environments and with people of similar values.
And again, you want to fit in, so you're at a holiday party and everyone's staying up late and drinking and whatever. You want to fit in.
Definitely, because you're with loved ones and all of this, right? And you respect these people, and that's tough, But I can't imagine living my whole life like that. I wouldn't even be in the same like planet as I am now.
The holidays are a good reminder to us of why we don't want to hang out with certain environments and groups of people year round.
Absolutely, for sure.
The next part was make it easy, and this is a really important piece, and this one I like a lot. But he gave a great is something in the book here that I got to talk about because it speaks to me and you. You do the right thing. I tend to do the wrong thing.
I don't know.
So there was this college where there was a photography class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the professor split the students into two groups. One group was the quantity group, and one was the quality group.
Okay.
Okay. So the quantity group, all they had to do was produce 100 photos over the course of the semester to get an A. Mm-hmm. If they produced 80 photos, they got like an 80. If they produced 90 photos, they got 90. If they wanted to 100 in the class, they had to produce 100 photos to get an A. Then there was the quality group. They only had to produce one photo for the whole semester. That's all. But it had to be perfect in order for them to get an A. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, only 1% the work, but it had to be perfect, right?
Sure.
The result was that all of the best photos in the class came from the quantity group.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And basically because they had tons of practice honing the technique, right?
Sure.
Whereas the quality group wasted all their time like speculating about perfection and theorizing about what's the best photo and all this kind of stuff, spinning their wheels, like just thinking mostly. Sure. Whereas the quantity group was taking action and they were just practicing and getting better and better as they went, right? Yeah. So basically it's like that quote, don't let perfection be the enemy of good, which has always been a problem for me. Don't waste too much time like studying or trying to figure out what's best, analysis paralysis they call it, right? Instead, take action. I thought that was awesome because like it's so easy to convince ourselves that we're doing something when we're like reading or thinking about the thing that we're going to do. Like you spend a lot of like hours thinking about the thing you're going to do, and you feel like you're accomplishing something because you're thinking about it, but that's not action.
Yes. I live by and I don't know who said this, but fuck it, ship it.
Yeah.
Like I just like.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so perfect because I'm the analysis paralysis guy. And like, it's funny because like, if we were going to give a seminar on like fitness or something, and we had 2 months to do it, I would spend that 2 months like hemming and hawing and trying to get it perfect. And by the end, I would come out with a really good seminar probably.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'd spend a lot of time working on stuff. You would put something together in like a week.
Yep.
And then you'd like revise it.
Yep.
And then and by the end of the 2 months, you would actually have the better
I would build the framework out in like 30 minutes. Yeah. And then I would build off of that. Yep. Oh, that's funny. Yep. Yeah. No, fuck it, ship it. Because I read a while back that major companies are always testing new ideas with like a $500 budget. Okay, now again, I'm generalizing here, but like they run a Facebook ad or they throw out this one, post or this or that, and they're testing the waters roughly with a $500 budget to see what catches. And they're not over analyzing and like building the perfect product or service or system without even seeing if people give a shit about it. Yep. So, there is, I would say the majority of things that I do or try don't stick, but I'm also throwing out a shitload more than a lot of people, and so I'm still having plenty.
Well, every time you do something that doesn't stick, you're testing an idea. Like if you're creating a product, you create some product and you throw it out to the market, and the market doesn't like it. Okay, that was a test, and then you revise it and you throw it out to the market, and the market likes it a little bit better or whatever. That was a test, and you just keep doing stuff until it gets better and better and starts to work.
There's been lots of programs here over the last 12 years that just people weren't interested. Yep. And I'd be like, well, why not? This is a great deal and this and that. I don't know, they're just not. So you move on. And like, for here, obviously like personal training and semi-private coaching and remote, like those have stuck. And like some of our digital products are starting to catch on now. Like those are stuck, and so those are keepers. A grocery list, free download, huge hit. People download that shit all the time.
How many different programs and products for the gym have you come up with over the years?
A lot.
If you had just spent all that time like trying to create the perfect thing, like we're not even to the perfect thing yet. you've just come up with dozens and dozens of things. And now after 7 years, you've got the few things that work, and you've discarded the things that don't.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure.
And so we're in the section now, make it easy.
Yep.
And the way that this is all make it easy is basically that this is all about getting your reps in. Because remember, habits are formed through repetition.
Yep.
That's how you make something a habit. You got to like repeat it often enough that it becomes automatic. So you're trying to create a new good habit. You have to repeat it often enough that it becomes automatic. Neurons that fire together, wire together. We've all heard that before, right? So he says in the book, like, you know, how a common question is, how long does it take to form a new habit? And we've all heard this before. Oh, it takes 21 days, or it takes 4 weeks, or 2. He says, no, there's not actually amount of time.
Sure.
The better question is, how many reps does it take to form a new habit? It's not about a matter of time.
Sure.
If you spend 2 months and you do one thing, it's not a habit yet. But if you repeat something daily, if you repeat something multiple times throughout the day, like the more reps you get in, then the more automatic it becomes, and then it becomes easy to keep performing. That's how you make a new habit easy, by getting your reps so that it becomes easier to do each time.
I love that. It's like we tell people that want a handstand. You can't practice handstands once a week. You need to practice 4 times a week. And that's a great example there. The Talent Code, on a bookshelf by Daniel Coyle, I think. Coyle. The Talent, 1,000 hours of practice to be, what's he say, competent. 10,000 hours to be a master.
Right.
So for people listening, start breaking down your goal or where you spend your time, and really calculate how much time you've accumulated. So I'll just do this because it's easy for me. Jiu-jitsu, I have like 550 classes because I keep a journal. So they're 90-minute classes. So I have like 700, almost 800 hours. That's 4 years, 3 times a week. I'm not even competent yet.
Right.
But a lot of people would think that they were in this another world and they're a UFC but the reality is that 1,000 hours just to be decent is a fucking lot of time. And then 10,000 hours, if you run the math, is like 40 to 50 years of multiple times per week getting really fucking good at something. And, so that's why I don't laugh, but it's like, I think
it takes a lot of reps.
Very few people understand what it takes to get to anything
and
high level.
We have to remember not to trick ourselves. Like that 10,000 hours is 10,000 hours of practice. It's doing the thing. Like
action.
The time that I spend, if I'm trying to learn a handstand, watching YouTube videos about handstands doesn't count.
Correct. Yes. And you take trainer Bob there at Garage Gym Oneida as an example. He went from a non-runner to like an elite runner, but he tracks his time training. It's like 20 hours a week. It's like, whoa, Bob got good. No surprise.
Right.
Time, action.
And that's how that's one of the ways that that's one of the ways that you make it easy to get a new habit is by putting in the reps, because it gets easier with every rep. Another way to make it easy is reducing friction. We're motivated to conserve energy. Obviously, we want to do what's easiest. That's just built into us. So he says how to achieve more with less effort. Make your habits simple at first, simple and easy. Instead of saying I'm going to do 100 push-ups every day, start with I'm going to do 10 push-ups every day. Or instead of I'm going to run a mile every day, I'm going to run to the end of my driveway and back every day. You're basically just mastering the art of showing up. That's what that's all about. Which
is 90% of the work. Well, 90% of the success to really getting started.
You're trying to get this new identity out. Like, I want to be a runner. Look, if I just run to the end of my driveway and back every day, and I do that for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, fine. I haven't run that far. It's only 100 yards to the end of my driveway or whatever. But by the end of the month, you start to feel like I am a runner.
It's a win.
New identity.
It's a win. And that hockey puck, the hockey stick we talked about, if you do that for a year, like that's a lot of wins, I did this with the cold shower. So I did 20, because I'm a weenie in the cold water. Gotten a lot better because of these principles we're talking about. But 20 to 30 seconds, I told myself for 60 days, go 20 to 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your shower. And I did. Now I'm at a minute to 2 minutes. And now I'm getting into the cold instead of getting hot, then the cold, which is way easier.
Yep.
But now it's really, I do it every day. I haven't missed a cold 1 to 2 minutes in a long, 4 or 5 months.
Yep.
But now it's sort of built in.
Well, that's so funny because that's one of his rules is he says when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do.
There you go.
He says, in other words, start small, right?
Sure.
Instead of I'll read every night, I'm going to read for 2 minutes every night. I'll read 1 page every night or something like that.
Yes.
You do that every night, you're a reader.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much you're reading. You've got the habit of a reader, so you are a reader.
You're going through the process of picking up the book, opening the page, right? Like that's the process. That's the system. Yeah. I told someone the other day they should do cold showers, and they're like, "Oh, I hate cold water," and all this. I said, start with 10 seconds. It's like literally like cold off, basically.
Yep.
And they did, and they are. And so that's where you start, and 15 seconds, 20, whatever.
Yep.
But the process of going from all warm to just 10 seconds of cold is a 10x multiplier on where you're gonna head if you keep that up, versus if you just thought about it or made excuses or watched Wim Hof on YouTube, right? You're just not really, you're not getting anything. And you actually have, we've talked about this a lot, nothing to show for your work.
Right.
Like, cause it's, like you learned some academic brain thing, but like you actually didn't get better at anything.
Yeah. Yep. And then the last bit of making it easy is, he says one way to do the right thing is by making bad habits really difficult.
Sure.
So for the easy example is like if you want to stop eating junk food, don't buy it.
Yep.
That way, if you get a craving for cookies, you actually have to get in your car and drive to the store and buy cookies. They're not in your cupboard ready for you to eat.
Sure. An extreme example that would be like if you have an intolerance to something, like you get diarrhea. It's like, well, a lot of people will stop drinking dairy if they know it produces that. That's the extreme side. But if you could mentally plant that bad result into those bad habits, then you wouldn't be more likely to do those.
Right. Another example he gave was like if you want to stop using like Instagram and like these apps on your phone, log out of the apps every time.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
He says like all you have to do then is like if you want to use Instagram, you have to log in every time, and just that little bit of hassle is enough to make people be like, I don't really want to do that.
So true.
So basically, like if you're trying to break a bad habit, find a way to make it difficult. So this is like an inverse of the law. He's saying like if you want to create a good habit, make it easy.
Yep.
So if you want to break a bad habit, make it difficult.
I took Facebook off my phone.
Yeah, you did this
a year ago, maybe a year and a half. Just because it was like doom scrolling and it was nothing I cared about, right?
Yeah.
But I need Facebook because I promote the business, right? So I took it off my phone, and I can easily post everything I need to twice a week in 20 minutes on Facebook on my laptop. And it's not convenient, right? So I'm literally never on Facebook. People might think I am because I post,
sure.
But I'm spending no time scrolling ever. I wish people birthdays if I know them or something quicker, return a message, but I'm not, because I'm not going to scroll Facebook on my laptop. Like I'm doing other things normally, but my phone, I do it an hour a day, not more normally, but it got to be annoying to where like, people in the gym, I'm in between clients, and I'm scrolling Facebook. I'm like, what in the fuck are you doing?
And so I got rid of it. Your bad habit, and you said, I'm going to create friction. I'm going to make my bad habit more difficult by just deleting the app.
Yep. And
now if I want to check Facebook, I have to go inside to my desktop. Correct. Or I have to reinstall it on my phone.
Yes. And my work, I have 2 computers, but this one here, I don't even have anything on this. I have work. I don't have Facebook. I don't have nothing. So I just open Google Chrome and I go to work.
Smart systems.
Yeah.
So then the fourth part, the last one was make it attractive. I mean, you want to get a new habit. You want it to be something that's attractive to you.
Yep.
If your behavior is pleasurable, you're far more likely to do it. He says that there's a mismatch between immediate and delayed rewards, and this is so true. We evolved to care about immediate, instant gratification. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
Whereas when it comes to habits, the cost of good habits tends to be in the present. Like whereas the rewards are in the future. So like working out, like the cost is now. You have to lift these weights and it's hard and it's heavy and you don't get anything immediately from it. The rewards are all in the future. Like 2 years from now, I'm gonna have a different body, better aesthetics, whatever. Whereas with bad habits, the cost of bad habits is in the future. Like say, say eating junk food or whatever. The reward is in the present. It's delicious right now, and the costs, the obesity and stuff, or the diabetes are way in the future.
Yes.
So this is a problem with good habits. Like I said, the cost is in the present. The reward is in the long term.
Yes.
With bad habits, the
reward is
right now, and then the cost is way down the road. And we're very bad. Humans have evolved to just think about the immediate. We're very bad at considering the long term.
Sure.
So in this final chapter, he's basically trying to get you to think about like how important it is to take that long term perspective.
Yeah, for sure. You saw that marshmallow study with kids?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Stanford marshmallow study.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but like they took these kids and they said you could have one marshmallow now.
Yep.
Or if you wait, how long was it?
I think it was 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes you could have one.
So the researcher would set a marshmallow on a table in front of the kid and then leave the room for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then when the researcher came back in, if the marshmallow was still there, the kid got another marshmallow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they explained those rules to them, that if you wait, you will get more.
Yep.
And they said there was a correlation to like basically long-term success, right?
Exactly. They followed those kids. These were all like little like elementary school kids, and they followed them decades after the study. And the ones that did well on the marshmallow test, like they were able to like delay instant gratification.
Sure.
Ended up like having better careers and having better financial success and so on down the road.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones that like just devoured the marshmallow immediately, who are just all about instant gratification, didn't do quite as well.
Sure.
With whatever metrics they were studying.
Yeah. That's a great. I've never forgotten that, and I won't, because like in health, in fitness, relationships, finance, everything good takes a long time. It just does. There's very little, yes, enjoy the system, the process, but anything truly great takes a long time.
Yep.
So I don't know of anything that doesn't.
So when it comes to you want to get a new habit, he says you want to make it attractive. Well, knowing what we know about how we're all about instant gratification, he says you need to find a way to use instant gratification to your advantage. You need a way to feel successful immediately. So you reward yourself in some way. Like, so for example, if your goal is you realize you eat out too much and you're wasting a lot of money doing that or whatever, and you want to stop eating out so often, he says every time that you decide to skip eating out, you say, oh, let's go out to the restaurant tonight. No, wait, we're not going to do that. Take that $20 and put it in a jar that's labeled like our summer vacation, or do something where you reward yourself so that because the reward of a good habit is far in the future.
Yes.
And he's saying find some way to give you a reward right now for the good habit.
Okay.
So that you'll stick to it.
Yeah. Now I wonder if, and I could be wrong, that an example of that would be like posting your workout after.
Yeah,
because you get a dopamine
that's
hit.
Great. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And because I'm thinking of that for myself, like, yes, I enjoy working out, but I've done it a long time. There are plenty of days I don't, right? Or don't want to. But just the mere fact of sharing it with people that I know, follow, and respect what I'm doing, gives me a little bit of joy to just be like, well, shit, like, because today rode 5K, set a record for me, and at 40, that's great. So that was like pumped up, to do that.
Well, that's one of the big benefits of like Strava, for example, which is where our friend Bob posts every day that he goes for a run. He posts it on Strava, and then all his running friends like give him a high five or compliment or comment on it or whatever.
Sure.
And it is like an immediate reward for that good thing that you just did.
Sure. Or you cook a healthy meal, post a picture, text a friend, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's good use of social media, and good forms of dopamine to keep you motivated.
Or you can even, like he says, you can use a habit tracker, which is just something as simple as like say you want to run every day or something like that, right? Just crossing off the day on the calendar or putting a check mark, and then you we're very visual. We love seeing things like that. When you look at your wall and you see 2.5 weeks are filled up with check marks, you want to keep it going,
For sure.
It's so funny, but just putting a check mark on a calendar is oddly satisfying. And when you see them accumulating, it makes that's a little dopamine hit and you want to keep doing it.
For sure.
So these are ways to make the new habit attractive right immediately.
Yeah.
Even though the real long-term payoff is way down the road.
Sure.
You're finding ways to make it attractive right now.
Yes.
And his final way to make it attractive is just to have an accountability partner. That's kind of like the social media stuff we were talking about, but just someone you can text, or if you have a workout buddy or something, you guys are cheering each other on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then also I put that example into environment.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. But without a doubt, an accountability partner, to bounce things off and really keep in line, I think that's huge.
Yep.
That's as big as environment. I put them as one.
Definitely, yeah. Some of these things overlap.
Yeah, if I just started to fall off the cliff with a ton of shit here, I'd have a lot of people being like, dude, why are you eating McDonald's? And
Yeah.
But that's good because I do the same thing.
Yep, totally.
So,
dude, that's it. That is the book.
Cool. So we're finished up Atomic Habits by James Clear. Go read it. Maybe this podcast will inspire you to read it and change your life for the better.
And all of these things that we were talking about, he's got a bunch of tips, way more than what we talked about. And he's got stories of people who've actually done things and good examples.
Sure.
Little one-page stories of people who've used all these different tips in different ways in different areas of life.
Sure.
So it's cool. It just illustrates the points and makes them a little more clear.
Yeah, we all have one set of time. And so how we spend that time, I think, should be optimized to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
And, creating the proper systems.
Decide who you want to be.
Decide who you want to be. And
focus
then
on the process.
And then you probably will, if you detach at some level from the end goal, who knows what that could end up being. It could be 10x.
Yep.
From where you thought, because you focus on those first two things. And that's sort of exciting for me to detach from that now.
That's my favorite part
and
of the
just
book.
be like, dude, just fucking put the work in, have the right systems, and try to emulate the right people.
And when you realize how powerful the process is, I become more interested in the process than the goal.
Me too.
And that's a great place to be because the process is what actually matters. And when you actually care about the process and you're into that, you're on a great path towards long-term success.
100%. Yeah. All right. Well, we will sign off. Everyone, thanks for listening. The followers, everyone, joining in on these conversations is growing. We're hearing from more people. So thank you. We're putting this out there to help everyone and, make the earth a better place. So
yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Yep.